Hi. So I've decided that I kind of like to give vlogging a try. Perhaps maybe it's easier to give an insight into what it's like to live with chronic pain while still, raising a family, going to school. I don't work. So you can't see what it's like to work, but you can see what it's like to, I guess, work at home. I mean, because raising a family, raising 4 kids is not always easy. I think a lot of people, like right now, Utah they're really big into doing their war on opioids. And so there's all of these big signs off the freeway that they like partially obscure the face of people and make comments about, opioid addiction anybody can have an opioid addiction and kind of things like that. So that I think it really masks the real people. And so yes, there definitely is. I'm not denying that there's not an issue with opioids. There can be. Unfortunately, they're really easy to become addicted to. But they're only showing, one side of the coin. Because there are plenty of us who live with chronic pain every day, who, if we could have it any other way, we would be taking something else. Opioids definitely have some unpleasant side effects. Things like constipation, you have to, when you wean off of them, you have to go slowly, otherwise you deal with nasty withdrawal headaches. And, it's unpleasant. So honestly, we would be taking something else if we could. And honestly, opioids were not the first thing that I was taking when I first got diagnosed with fibromyalgia 7 years ago. We tried, I can't even tell you all the names of everything that I tried. And the terrible thing with fibromyalgia is that in order to be diagnosed with it, you have to rule everything else out. So they don't know a whole lot about it. There's not a definitive test. They can't just draw your blood and go, oh, it's fibromyalgia. They're still learning about it. They know it has something to do with hyperactive nerves, but beyond that, they don't know what causes it. There's guesses. It's still a really unknown disease, which is terrible because that means that when we treat it, it's treating the symptoms. There's no cure. We're just treating the symptoms. You have pain. Let's give you some medication that might help the pain. You've got fatigue. You're not sleeping well. So let's give you some, medicine to help you sleep. So maybe if you're sleeping solidly, you won't feel as tired. But then you're getting all the nasty side effects with all these different medications that they're kind of throwing at your symptoms, which sucks. I hate feeling like this human guinea pig. But at the same time, I want to find something that works. If I can find something that works, that isn't an opioid, isn't a narcotic or whatever, that would be amazing. I went almost 2 years before, so I'd been receiving a treatment, for a few years before I decided to give a try going to a pain management clinic. And even they didn't immediately start throwing opioids at it. We were trying other things. They got Lyrica out there, Cymbalta, gabapentin, all these things. Some of them worked. Lyrica worked, except that the nasty side effect that came with that was my legs swelled up to the point that it hurt. and I couldn't walk. And I was like, okay, while this helps alleviate my other pain, or at least reduced it greatly, I was like, if I can't get around, I can't take care of my 4 kids. So we took me off of that. So it was over a year with the pain management clinic before we finally decided to give Percocet a try. And it actually takes away a good portion of the pain. It's not perfect, and there are days it works better than others. I mean, our bodies are so, we're each our own person, and our body reacts to things its own way. And so, yeah, if I had another choice, like right now I'm trying some pain patches, and the generic ones we found weren't really working, and in a 6-week span of time, we upped the dosage from like a 5 milligram patch to a 10 milligram patch. And I wasn't really noticing anything. And their hope was that maybe since I wasn't noticing anything, it just meant it was too low of a dose and they needed to go higher. And the hope with trying these pain patches was that it would do better coverage because it's a long-term, the medication buffers around the nerves is kind of the idea. And it layers. So you wear a patch for a week and then you replace it, and you're layering that pain management if it's working. And so we actually recently switched to the name brand to see if that worked better. And because I wasn't the first one, in talking with the doctor, I wasn't the first one to complain about the generic patch not working. And so we just recently switched to the name brand. But oh my gosh, that was so expensive. Here with the generic, I was paying like $8 for 4 patches for a month. We paid $216 for 4 patches of the name brand to give a try. I was like, how are we going to afford $216 every month in a one job family? And my husband said, Christopher was like, well, let's just give it a try. He's like, if it doesn't work, then we're not paying it. If it works, well, we'll figure something out. I think they're working better because the hope is that they'll work so we can lower or even get rid of my Percocet, which would be amazing. But I'm noticing that while it works better than the generic, it's still not working as much. And of course, if we take me off of it, the crazy thing will be, that's when you'll really notice. Be like, oh, it was working better than I thought, or, it's kind of the hope. But I guess we'll see. We're only at week, we're on the last week. So I've been on them for a month now. Just not noticing it. So I don't know what the plan will be. But it's, so back to this war on opioids here. And I know it's across the nation. It's not just Utah. But it's frustrating because they're really only looking and paying attention to those who are not taking their medication the way they're supposed to, or overdosing because they've taken too much, or they've mixed it with other things that they shouldn't. They're not communicating with their doctor. They're not communicating with the pharmacist. It's this, it's not a game, but at the same time it is. It's like this balancing act. And so it's frustrating when all you hear are people, people who take opioids. I could never do that. When you don't have any other choice. Before I was taking anything at all, I still have days where I have to lay down. I have to be in bed. I'm worn out. I hurt. There's no relief. I have good days. I have bad days. Some days start good and end bad. Some days start bad and end good. Sometimes I go days or weeks of just bad. And I think people forget we're human. We are human. We are just like everybody else. We raise families, we work jobs, we go to school, we have hobbies, we binge watch Netflix, we read books, we try to live a normal life. But we're balancing trying to have a normal life with being sick, with being in pain all the time. And this is not something I would ever wish on anyone, not even if I had a worst enemy. I wouldn't wish it on even a worst enemy. It really sucks. You know, and there have been some benefits. I mean, my kids are growing up being incredibly empathetic people. You know, they're so sweet. We get drawings every day. You know, my 8-year-old Pixie, she'll pop in and stick out her arms. Hug. I want to give you a hug. You know, they're so sweet. If I'm having a bad day, even if I'm not having a bad day, my kids are so cute. Mom, here, I brought you one of your drinks. Or, Mom, do you need anything? Not every kid. I mean, once again, it's not something, if I could have picked, I wouldn't have picked. I don't want my kids to know. I mean, I hate the fact that they know from such a young age what it's like to live with a mom who's sick. It really sucks. Wish I could protect them from it, but it can't. And so it's amazing to see how empathetic my children are. When they hear someone sick, I mean, one of my mentor has been fighting cancer for the last, I don't know, I think he said 14 years. And my kids have met him, and when they heard he was not doing so well more recently, they were making him get well cards and asking me, did you give it to him? Did you give it to him? They absolutely adore him. And they're always thinking about somebody else. They want to make cards. They want to make things for people. Of course, Utah, we're a predominantly LDS state. So Latter-day, Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Which I am a member of the church. So we have our temple in Salt Lake, the Salt Lake City Temple. We have Temple Square, which I know a lot of people know. If you come to Utah, it's the place to see. Christmas time, it's great because they do lights. We went, I think it's been 2 Christmases now. We were down there at Christmas time. And of course, we have missionaries from our church that are there to teach people, if they want, they can answer their questions about, the church and things like that. And they were passing out these awesome little cards of challenges of giving, the spirit of giving, for the Christmas holiday. And of course, my kids each got one. And they were so excited to do them. It was like, one of them was like, make a meal for somebody or make a treat and deliver it. They had some that were for the kids. They were kind of easier to be done by kids. And then they had some that were for the adults. And my kids were so excited to give and to participate in that. And we actually have held on to those so that they can, whenever they're like, Mom, I want to do something for somebody, we're pulling those out and they're like, oh, I can make treats for, so-and-so, or, they have the biggest hearts. And I think that's out. I mean, maybe perhaps I'd like to think from our parenting style, but it definitely comes from living with an illness that's never going to go away. And I love that it's made my children very empathetic. But I don't think people, I don't know, it's hard. For the most part, I've quit telling my story because I have a tendency, there are some people that are really amazing. We do have a really good support system. But we have dealt with people who there's immediate judgment. We don't always make it to church on Sundays. By the end of a week, especially during school for me, I'm beyond exhausted. My body isn't functioning as good as it was perhaps on Monday. Sunday I'm beat. Saturday, Sunday are I need to rest. take care of me, do some self-care so that when Monday comes around, I'm ready to face that week again. But we've dealt with people who have judged because I don't take my kids to church always. And it's not that we don't believe, obviously. It's not that we don't. I love Jesus Christ. We teach my children, but I have to take care of me so that I can take care of my family. And Christopher works weekends out of town, and so it's me. I'm the sole parent on weekends. And so if I'm too sick and I can't leave my bed, then it's my children who suffer. So sometimes I have to sacrifice getting to go to church in order to take care of my kids, take care of my family, to take care of me. And we've dealt with people who have been really judgmental on that, and trying to explain to them what it's like is hard. So my house is way far from perfect. I hate the clutter, but I have to pick and choose my battles. So some days those battles are the dishes in the kitchen, or some days that battle that I have picked is just curling up with my kids in my room or on the couch and watching movies with them or talking with them. I have a great relationship with my kids. And especially my two oldest, we can talk about lots of things, and we'll sit and talk for hours, and they feel comfortable coming and asking me questions, sometimes on some really serious topics. And I love that I have that, because I try to make my focus my family. So my house isn't always my top priority. So it's messy. I would love to just take care of all of it and clean it all up and be perfect, but that's not realistic. I'm hoping to start soon, now that the semester just ended for me, and so I'm hoping that I can do some Maria Kondo to condo my house. I can be a terrible pack rat a little bit. I like to save things for memory, and I have tons of stuff to scrapbook, and maybe not nearly as much time to actually do the scrapbooking. And so my kids have developed that habit too. So we got to do some figuring out what works better for us. But once again, I'm human. I'm not perfect, and I have to do all the normal things and balance good days and bad days and not overdoing it, because overdoing it can lead to a week where I can't function. I can't leave my bed. I maybe barely stumble to the bathroom. It's awful. And I'm hoping that by trying this new vlog and thing, I can show you an insight into my world. I would love if you could share. If you have questions, send me messages and I'll try to answer questions. I know that people are always asking me questions, what it's like, what it feels like. And I'm actually currently working on a novel, my first novel, and it's actually about someone like me, a mom with 2 little kids, who gets a chronic pain. Her health starts to go downhill. She ends up getting diagnosed with a chronic pain condition, and how that really throws her world upside down. Having this can cause marital issues. I read all the time on my support groups these horrible stories of boyfriends, girlfriends, husbands, wives who don't believe their loved ones, that they're really suffering, and they'll leave them, or they make fun of them, or it's just, I want to show insight. My marriage isn't perfect. I absolutely adore my husband. We've been together. We actually just celebrated on the 15th of April. we just celebrated our 13th wedding anniversary. And 2 days before that, on the 13th, we celebrated, it was the 17th. It was officially 17 years ago on the 13th that we went on our very first date. And so we have been through ups and downs, especially as my health has started to decline. And so we're human. We still, it's hard, especially like when he gets sick and I'm sick. And so I'm trying to take care of him, take care of the kids, all while being almost as miserable as he is. We both had really nasty colds this week that had us both on, in bed for 2 days almost straight. And it was awful because it was me that was forcing myself up. I had to take kids to school. I had to pick them up. Even while feeling just as miserable as he was, on top of my everyday miserable, that it was rough. And it's easy to get frustrated. Why, you're sick, I'm sick. Why can't you get up and help me? And I try so hard. Sometimes it's hard when you feel miserable to be empathetic. It's terrible when you're both sick and you're like, if I can get up and do this, you can get up and do this. So I really want to show an insight into my world, into what it's like, and maybe it will help all of you guys in your interactions with other people, because we never know what kind of battle someone else is fighting that we can't see. Addiction and depression, there's the really hard things, domestic abuse and things like that. But it can be things that you're just having a bad day and you feel alone, that phone call to that person just turned their day around. You never know. And so we should always be kind, and we should always strive to find understanding for what someone else is going through, and to think outside of ourselves. So I'm hoping that you'll learn from me and I'll learn from you. And so welcome to my world, I hope you guys are all in here for my journey. I hope you guys have a great rest of your Saturday, and I look forward to talking with all of you guys in a day or two. Bye.